You just look at things, just look at everything, the color of that or the shape of that or whatever, and look at the natural world. And you know, it's not like I'm making bullets or something. Like the stuff that I design and make and sell, it just makes people happy. It doesn't like make them sick or make them sad or hurt them or any of those things.
I guess when people are in our product, we want them to feel good about what they do, whether it's a sport that they're very aggressive about, or it's something that they're just casual.
Some of it's just pleasure, like looking at food and appreciating that aspect of the eating experience, you know?
Each color evokes its own message. Each color gives its own message.
It's saying something before you get the chance to go to the next level of that nuance.
It can connote a brand, it can connote an emotion, it can reflect a memory.
Our hope is that they'll say something before you even try them.
You may have 20 to 30 people working on the same thing. How do you make sure that everybody's on the same page? You need a language of color. 95% of what happens is really out of your frame of consciousness. You're not even aware of it. 95% of what influences with you with color is emotional. It's not rational. Only 5% is rational.
Especially in context with information. You know, I could put the word happy, if I put the word happy like in like a weird, you know, like off black against black, well, it's not going to mean happy. It's going to mean some weird inverse, ironic statement of happy.
You know, at one period of time, a significant portion of the food supply was unsafe. If something was not the right color or didn't smell right, that was a cue that we were not to eat it. So, I mean, that's, you know, there have been evolutionary rules, reasons for us to be able to make those distinctions over time.
How do you make it in a different way that is familiar, but at the same time, consumers are a little kind of surprised with, well, how exactly did you do that?
When you're looking at a product in a store, 3 seconds. Do I like it? Do I not? Do I not like it? I'm going to walk away, not interested.
Color can set the career of a company. If Coca-Cola changed from that red to like some kind of like, it's kind of a dull brown, they're going to go out of business.
Explosion that internally was referred to burn and bite in the back of the throat. It's that wow! Right? That happens and it's on the back of your tongue. And is that red? Absolutely. Because you don't see cola color. Color's boring. You see that red color that they've associated.
There are many products that are well designed that can not get the traction they deserve because the color's not right.
Color plays into it, texture plays into it, graphics play into it. All of that is part of the fluidity of creating this amazing product. At the same time, when it's done, people would say, I want to be seen in that. Especially in track and field, more than any other Olympic sport, it's all around how dominating do you look? And down to the point where in preparing for an event, if you watch, they come out with like 5 or 6 layers of clothes on, even if it's 85 degrees out. And they slowly take away, they're slowly taking sort of the covers off to get down to the armor, which is the final layer. And so you're watching your competition back and forth of, well, what do they got on under there? You know, sometimes even the shoes are covered, or they put on a final pair right when they're down to the level. But for Safa Powell, so many of these athletes, especially at Olympics, want colors that match to their country. So he's from Jamaica, and the colors are green, yellow, and black. And what he wanted was the plate to be gold for a very specific reason. He viewed himself as the fastest, you know, animal in the world out there. And of course, cheetah was the one that is the fastest, you know, can do 60 miles an hour. So he said, you know, let's do a cheetah pattern that mimics this animal that I am so sort of fond of and studied. And when you get into really studying the cheetah print, through the head and the ears, it's a very small pattern, and then it expands as the body goes back. So the size of the, ellipses, they're not circles, they're ellipses, up through the ears and the nose and the neck are maybe a third the size as they are through the back of the body. So, you know, we went to the zoo and you look at the cheetahs and you look at explain them, and you can kind of really get a feel for how sometimes nature really makes things look fast when maybe they aren't. So the cheetah looks fast standing still. So that's what we invoked into the shoe. And the colors, we tried a range of things, but those colors are hard to work with because, well, we talked earlier, when you do black, too much black, it looks slow, and we picked that up right away. So there were a range of colorways that were done. The white one is the one, and we put it in the tip because, again, when you're watching top down, I'm seeing white, lightweight, almost angel-like with this cool print, and then the darkest color is in the back of the heel, which then comes back up through the leg. So it almost looks like that green just flows back up through a sock and then into the power of the leg. Look at me, look at how cool I am. Don't I scare you? And that was all part of it because you look at those shoes. Wow, he's really got to be fast if he's putting that stuff on. And he's all hooked. And all of a sudden, God, did I train hard enough? Can I beat this guy? And so it's all about trying to put just a hint of doubt in your competitor. Because the track and field stuff, it's a 1/10 of a second. It's that fast. Silver to bronze. gold to bronze. It's that fast. 1/10 of seconds. So any slight doubt I can put into your mind, is I've already won, and we haven't even gone into the blocks yet.
In the design process, part of my goal has always been to think about it at the very beginning. One of the things that I think is a mistake is to use color as a Band-Aid, to act as if it can come in at the end and you're just going to tape over it and it's going to say something that you want it to say.
Well, when I compose a dish at Junie, what it's about is first it's about the season. So what happens is that season generally gives you different color profiles to be able to use. So as we get into summer, we use orange, we use red, we use all those beautiful summer colors. As you progressively go into fall, it's mushrooms and it's darker colors, and then winter turns into this aspect of black and white.
So just by changing the things that people are thinking about that the color reminds them of, you can actually change their preference for the color. So say we have a specific shade of red and we show you lots of strawberries and ripe fruit and flowers that are as positive and associated with red. You'll come to like red more than someone that we show blood and guts and lesions that are negatively associated with red.
Like, look, I want to bring back all the color. I want to bring back like fantasy and whimsy and humor. You know, you could have the same object be different colors, and some colors you have to touch it, you have to pick it up, you know? And once you pick something up, then it's got you.
So OPI got into color in 1989, and we looked at the nail polish category, and it was really just a number and a color. It didn't have personality, it wasn't aspirational, it wasn't fun or sexy. We at OPI realized that that was missing. The most asked for question from every editor in the world is, how do you come up with those names? It happened, I was at a wedding at the Natural History Museum, and this young lady who was pouring wine actually missed the glass, and half of it was pouring down my dress. And she said to me, "I'm not really a waitress, I'm an actress." I'm like, oh my God, have I got something for you? And the name I'm Not Really a Waitress was born, which is kind of a candy apple red. It's a great red because it really fits all skin tones. It really said to women, you can be anything you want to be. You know, I'm not really a waitress, I'm an editor, I'm a flight attendant, I am a mom, a homemaker, I'm an executive. So everybody could relate to that color, and it really said to women, you can be anything you want to be in this world. It gave them permission to wear nail polish and say, look at me, here I am. If you think about it, I can look at my hands and nails all day without having to get up and go into a mirror. But with nail color, I can look at my nails when I'm typing, when I'm on the phone, when I'm motioning, when I'm talking, and I love how my nails look all day, and it makes me feel good. Lincoln Park After Dark from the Chicago collection, a color that really revolutionized how women perceive color, where dark nail polish became chic and wearable. You know, before, if you wore dark color, it was really kind of very grungy and not for everybody, but you know, dark color became mainstream. People ask me, who do you design shades for? And I say for my daughter who's 22, my mom who's 93, and everybody in between.
When we would do concept work, there would be all kinds of colors that you would just sketch up a range of things, and you could influence a decision of desire by color. So oftentimes we just went to kind of shades of gray to really emphasize on the design first, the lines and the proportions and sort of the symmetry of the design, and then bring color in.
So I usually will think about the color before I even think about the design. Especially like planning out the product line for the company. Because you know, we're going to release something like 120 different products over the course of the year. And the ideal customer is a collector that has them all. And so I had to think about what's it all going to look like together on a big shelf.
I have to pull back and I have to listen. So with my process, what I want to understand is what that color needs to do in order to make it have a connection. So what I try to do is to be empathic to a situation, empathic to a need, empathic to a place, empathic to a person.
We don't want the items to be the same shapes, but we can carry through like themes in color, or ranges of color, or feelings, or counterpoint, like this one's white, this one's black, together they look, you know, there's a lot of that thought out too. So I have a giant wall laid out with either all the products we're going to make or an exemplar that's close to it, just so you can see a rhythm of color and pattern across the whole thing. And if the whole wall is pleasing to look at as an entity, then I know that it's worked.
We made a decision to start a Color of the Year program, for lack of a better word, when we saw how much angst there was around the new millennium coming up. Is the world going to fall apart? Is my computer going to break down? What's going to happen? You know, you had that half of the population, the other half going, how exciting, we're moving into 2000. No matter what goes on in the world, we're always looking at it, here's what's taking place now. What does that mean for color? How do we take this message and communicate that out in the language of color? Because essentially that's what Pantone is, the language of color. What we came up with was cerulean blue, because we felt that this color best expressed what was taking place and what people needed. And we look at a lot of different industries to get this, particularly, you know, industries that are long lead, and movies, media, what's coming up in 2020. And in the case of coming up with Marsala, it was a very conscious effort with a color that was different than what people would typically expect, because the past couple of years have been brighter shades. You think about the brights, it was honeysuckle pink, and I said a mimosa, and tangerine tango. Emerald green was really about unity and bringing people together. Radiant orchid, freshness, newness, unique and modern. And where are people now? We're having technology coming at us. We're going crazy. We want to de-stress, we want to unplug, we want to do yoga, we want to meditate, we want to decompress, we want to turn off. We want something a little bit more muted. And when we saw the shade and it was Marsala, we thought, okay, that's really good. Number one, it brings to mind the Marsala region in Italy. And so you're thinking wines, even though it's not a drinkable wine, it's a cooking wine, but it also plays into where are we? We want things that are going to feed us. We want things that are going to nurture us. So what better way? It's not just feeding our soul spiritually, it's also feeding our soul physically. We may be talking about all these different colors, and then you have a cataclysmic event. That's the thing that can rock the world of trend. If I go back to the financial crash, all of a sudden you could see, it's like my eyes could close and you knew there were going to be neutrals on the selling floor. You just knew it, because all of a sudden people were going to be nervous about spending money. I'm going to spend my money on things that are investments, things that are neutral, that stand the test of time. But I think the Our team at Pantone, who's coming up with color trends, have been doing this for a very long time. They're very attuned to what's happening, and you can't divorce trend from the culture. Everything is so interwoven in what's taking place.
Around 2003, I was playing Ultimate Frisbee at a tournament in Santa Cruz, California. And I was wearing a pair of glasses that I had actually manufactured in my laboratory that were made out of glass that I had melted and ground and everything. And I was selling these to local laser surgery companies for the surgeons to wear to protect their eyes during laser surgery. And the word had got back to me that the surgeons were stealing the glasses and using them as sunglasses. So I had this vision of them driving around their Maseratis and Ferraris with their sunglasses on up and down the coastal highway of California. And I thought, that's cool, I should do that too. So I had them at the tournament, and a friend of mine said, can I borrow your sunglasses? He put them on, and I didn't know it at the time, but he was colorblind. And he said, oh, I can see the cones. He couldn't actually see the fluorescent orange cone on the green background. They were the same color. But when he put the glasses on, he could see them. Things like, I can see the red traffic light, I can see the red stop sign, I can see the green leaves from the brown leaves. And this might seem really mundane, but I get the biggest thrill of walking around with somebody who is trying the glasses on for the first time and observing how they interact with the world differently. And it goes something like this. What? Is that lavender? And then I'm immediately thinking as a scientist, like, how do they know what lavender is?
Well, if I had to define luxury, I'd say that in luxury it's really the details that matter. And in particular, I would say that color is so important in what we do, whether it be from the inside of the packaging, so that's from the tea leaves themselves to the color of the actual infusion that the tea leaves make, to the exterior of the packaging. So what's going to entice, make you excited about actually trying the different teas, which is why we partner with Pantone to help us with our exterior packaging of the teas to make it exciting to you. In the culinary world, there is this saying that as tea blenders, we take very seriously, and that is the first taste is with the eyes. So as a result, when we custom blend our teas for our clients, we treat color just as importantly as we do taste and aroma. So in iced teas, you actually lose the aroma. So one of the three major components that we take into account in a hot tea, which is color, aroma, and taste, in iced tea you actually lose out on the aroma, so you only have color and taste to take into account. As a result, that elevates color even to a higher status than it would be even in hot tea. And industry standards for blending iced teas currently is actually very dark and very saturated. However, for ourselves, we actually want to make something that looks super tasty and very exciting and enticing for people. So we actually blend it lighter liqueuring and more amber in tonality, so that when it's poured over ice, it actually is reminiscent of something like a great Scotch. And I mean, who doesn't like a great Scotch? Even though we may do details like blending for color, which people may or may not recognize or know that it's there or that's affecting them on any intimate level, that we know it's there and that we know it has an impact of some sort.
You can be influenced by what's going on, okay? You can like get energy from it and have it trigger thoughts, but if you're just gonna mimic what you see is going on now, by the time it comes out, people will like, well, he's just copying that shit or whatever.
There is this fear that we're going to do it wrong, and honestly, the only thing we would really do wrong would be to not play or to not understand what each of these things could do just by shifting it subtly. So my encouragement with any designers I'm working with any company I'm working with, is to try to engage in that form of play.
How does what we're doing, the product, from a color point of view, accessorize with everything else that's going on? What's your color strategy?
If you design toward human value, that you will have far longer reach and a deeper connection than you ever could to trend. So I think that one of the bigger obstacles that I have is trying to communicate to my client why we're doing something.
You know, I guess the question is why do we continue to do things that maybe people may or may not notice or appreciate, or why it's at a financial disincentive really for us to be doing these things. Taking a lot of these details into account, you know, why do we continue to do them when there's a lot of reasons not to be doing them? And I think the reason is, like, why does an artist go to their easel every day and try and paint something better than what they did the day before? Why do people try and, you know, elevate or do better in their marathons every time they run? And I think it's I don't know, personal pursuit of perfection, and inside it we all know it's the right thing to do.